welcome to Solar Alberta's 2023 Solar Series. Today's webinar, our last for the year, is called Municipal Solar Adoption in Alberta. My name is Heather McKenzie and I'm the Executive Director of Solar Alberta. I want to take a minute to acknowledge that I'm hosting you today from Amiskwaciwaskahigan, also known as Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is located on Treaty 6 territories and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Treaty 6 territory is the traditional gathering place and home of many Indigenous peoples, including the Papachase, Nehiyawak or Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Blackfoot, and Nakota Sioux, nations whose ancestors have cared for and nurtured these lands since time immemorial. We were delighted to have so many people register for this event. Please note that we will be recording the webinar for future distribution. Today, we will be hearing from two informative speakers. Trina Innes will share how our partner, the Municipal Climate Change Action Centre, is helping to drive municipal solar adoption around Alberta. Then Megan Jenkins will share how Innisfail is adopting solar and encouraging their residents to do likewise. Following the presentations, there will be a Q&A period in which you can all participate. The entire session will wrap up in an hour and a half. In an effort to increase accessibility to the content that we're offering, we have enabled closed captioning for this presentation. You can turn the captioning on in the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. During our Q&A period, we will be using the Zoom Q&A for questions rather than the chat box. So please enter your questions in the Q&A section. Also, please click on the little thumbs up symbols to upvote questions that you like. Before we move forward, we're going to do a quick poll to get a sense of who we have joining us today. So please take a minute to answer the question that will be popping up on your screen now. While some folks are still doing the poll, I just want to encourage you also to take a minute. Please pop your name, land acknowledgement, any contact info you're comfortable sharing in the chat now and throughout the event so that others can look you up on LinkedIn or email you. This is a great way to form new relationships. All right, thank you for participating. Let's have a look at the results there. Okay, solar or related industry professionals, good chunk of you today. I thought there might be some municipal reps in the room and a good chunk of solar curious folks as well, a few students. So thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate that. It's great to know a little bit about the audience before we dive in. And now just a bit about Solar Alberta. Did you know that Solar Alberta is actually in our 32nd year of operation? We're a nonprofit society that is dedicated to accelerating Alberta's transition to a just and sustainable energy future. We do so by advocating, educating, and serving as an industry and community hub for solar energy. Our membership is made up of over 930 individuals and businesses, and we have approximately 21,000 followers. In response to the recent moratorium imposed on renewable power plants in Alberta, Solar Alberta has launched an advocacy campaign called Rise Up for Renewables. You can follow the link in the chat now for template letters that you can send to the Premier, ministers, MLAs, and local officials asking them to end the moratorium. In addition, we have started distributing lawn signs like those pictured here. Lawn signs are currently available in Calgary, Edmonton, Fort McMurray, Sherwood Park, Cochrane, Fort Macleod, and the list is growing by the week. Visit our website to order your sign today. We provide a number of services as Solar Alberta, including managing a solar directory and also a request for quotes system through our website. In this way, we act as a bridge for installers, suppliers, and other solar-related businesses to connect with their customers and clients. You can see a screenshot of the directory here on this slide, and there's a link to it in the chat. In addition to our website services and our advocacy, we run a number of educational programs such as this solar seminar series and a number of in-person and online networking events each year. Our next solar series seminar will be held in January 2024. So stay tuned for that. We're also planning an October networking event in Calgary on October 20th from 4 till 6 p.m. at the Social Beer House. More information can be found through the link in the chat. Another exciting event to pop in your calendar is our annual online conference and trade show called the Solar Show. Please save January 29th to February 2nd for our next solar show. And you can watch recordings of the last 3 on our YouTube channel. In addition to the public education we provide, we also host a number of live online courses at very affordable rates for solar industry professionals or those transitioning into the sector. Classes have started up again this fall on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and once again, there is a 10% discount for members. Registration for working with wire providers is open, and that actually starts on October 26th. So that's really good if you're interested in looking at becoming a project manager or something like that in the solar sector. We're offering $25 off for early bird registration if you register at least 2 weeks in advance. We also offer pre-recorded courses and workshops on our website if the dates that we have offered for live courses don't work for you. And if you're not already, I just want to encourage you to join Solar Alberta as a member. We are constantly evolving our member services, some of which include discounts on these courses I've mentioned, access to member-only content and newsletters. Individual membership is just $35 and can be purchased at the link in the chat. Also, if you're looking to support our work, you can consider volunteering or donating. The links to be a general volunteer or donate are being popped in the chat as well. All right, without further ado, I just want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Lakeland College for sponsoring today's session in particular, and a thanks as well to Epicor for sponsoring this full year's seminar series as a whole. We really couldn't offer all of this amazing free content without the support of our sponsors. We are always interested in developing more partnerships for our events, and we already have sponsors for 2024 actually, and they're going quickly. So if you or your company want to work with us to educate the public, please don't hesitate to reach out. Now I'm going to welcome and introduce our speakers for the day. First is Trina Innis. Trina is Executive Director of Sustainability Services at Alberta Municipalities, where she leads a portfolio of climate mitigation and adaptation initiatives, including the Municipal Climate Change Action Centre and Clean Energy Improvement Program. Trina was recognized by the Women in Energy Transition Series in 2022 and as a Clean 16 honoree in 2020 for National Leadership in Sustainability. Previously, she served as a Chief Sustainability Officer in higher education. Trina is a certified climate change professional, certified change management professional, and corporate director. Trina holds an MBA from Athabasca University, a master's in forestry from the University of New Brunswick, a Bachelor of Science from Western University, and certificates in corporate social responsibility from the University of Toronto, change management from the Royal Roads University, and community energy management from British Columbia Institute of Technology. So welcome, Trina, and thank you for joining us today. I'd also like to introduce our second speaker today, Megan Jenkins. Megan is the Director of Community Services for the town of Innisfail. She completed her undergraduate studies in environmental management and her postgrad degree in sustainable development. She has over 15 years of municipal experience, starting in planning and development and evolving to include numerous other facets of local governance. She played a central role navigating the town through the Innisfail Solar Corp generation project, the installation of rooftop solar on 4 town facilities, and continued on the creation of a 2-megawatt town-owned solar generation facility on a brownfield site. So welcome, both of you. I'm going to turn the mic over to Trina now to begin our presentations. We're really looking forward to learning from you today.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll just confirm everyone can see the screen. It's all good?
Looks great. Take it away, Trina.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all about municipal solar adoption in Alberta. Here we go. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge that I also am speaking to you from Treaty 6 territory. I am a first-generation settler of British descent, and I've benefited greatly from Turtle Island. I grew up in Ontario, studied in New Brunswick, and practiced forestry on unceded First Nations land in British Columbia. And I've enjoyed the privilege of living and working on Treaty 6 territory for the last 20 years, and offer my thanks to the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. So the Municipal Climate Change Action Center was established in 2009 as a collaborative initiative between two municipal associations and the government of Alberta. And we came together to implement a municipal climate change action plan. The Action Center provides funding, technical assistance, and education to Alberta municipalities, nonprofit organizations to advance climate change solutions. We've also worked with school authorities and Indigenous communities. Next year, the MCCAC will celebrate 15 years delivering climate mitigation and adaptation programs. Our projects have included everything from energy efficiency upgrades in municipal facilities, audits, solar energy, electric vehicles, climate risk assessments, and electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and many more. And on behalf of all municipalities benefiting from our programs and other participants, I'd like to acknowledge the contributions of our primary funder, the Government of Alberta, as well as other funders, including Natural Resources Canada, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and Prairies Canada. Since inception, we've catalyzed almost $100 million in clean energy-related investments. We've worked with 156 municipal administrations, and when we factor in our other participants, such as school authorities, we've had a presence in over 180 municipalities in Alberta. And as a result of this work, participants are saving over $8 million a year and avoiding over 37,000 annual tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So we're here to talk about municipalities or cities. So why would we focus on that? If we look around the world, 70% of greenhouse gas emissions are generated by cities. And within Canada, cities are responsible for about 50% of our country's greenhouse gas emissions. Cities, municipalities are also on the front line when it comes to the impacts of climate change. Forest fires, ice storms, flooding, and more. And we don't need to look very far across Canada. We can look into Alberta to identify some of the most damaging weather events in recent years. So municipalities have a key role to play in helping achieve national and international climate targets. Over 13,000 cities around the world have joined something called the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, including 63 municipalities in Canada. And these and many others are embracing adaptation and mitigation actions. The adaptation actions involve making changes to live with the impacts of climate change, strengthening the resilience of buildings, flood mitigation, for example. Mitigation actions involve stopping climate change from getting worse. These include energy efficiency improvements, sustainable transportation, and renewable energy. So solar is actually part of the climate solution. If we look around the world, about 84% of energy use comes from fossil fuels, with 16% coming from renewables. And within Alberta, it's about 89% produced by fossil fuels and about 10% from renewables. An organization called the International Renewable Energy Agency suggests that through accelerated uptake, 65% of energy use could come from renewables by 2050. And this would be enough to meet Paris climate goals. Renewable energy currently represents about 25% of global electricity generation. And according to IRENA, about 80% of electricity could be generated by renewable energy in 2050. Work is needed in climate adaptation and mitigation, and these are green jobs. And according to Clean Energy Canada, Canada's clean energy workforce is going to grow by almost 50% by 2030. And within Alberta, the clean energy sector will grow about 10% a year out to a net zero 2050. And this is the fastest of any province or territory. This explosion of green jobs connects to solar. And for context, every megawatt of installed energy is estimated to create about 15 jobs. So if you've been thinking about solar, you may be asking yourself, why should I invest in solar? And there's many benefits. So we've touched on the job-related benefits, but renewables can help municipal governments save taxpayers money. As energy costs rise, local governments implementing solar in corporate operations can cut electricity bills, and those funds can be made available for other priorities. Solar can help improve the resiliency of a community by helping offset or supplement power during outages and provide energy for critical facilities. And by embracing solar, local governments demonstrate the value of technology and inspire others in the community to embrace it. And that helps scale the adoption in technology and contribute to community emissions reductions overall. Solar can also reduce the amount of GHGs and other pollutants, which can translate into cleaner air and improved health. Many communities across Alberta, across Canada, have greenhouse gas reduction plans, energy plans, or climate plans. And solar technology helps make progress on these environmental goals, which then contributes to national and international goals. So let's have a look at Alberta. Alberta's electricity has traditionally been produced at large facilities connected to the grid's high voltage transmission lines. In 2015, Alberta announced a phase out of the coal element of our electricity generation, and that we should be fully off coal by 2024. And as technologies have improved and energy prices have gone up, more opportunities to produce energy are available through small-scale generation and micro-generation facilities. Micro-generation allows residents to generate electricity from renewable or alternative energy sources and sell the surplus to the grid in exchange for energy credits. The small-scale generation allows distribution-connected electrical generation as well. The difference is in the size of the projects that are allowed. So micro-generation is up to 5 megawatts, and it's generally running behind the meter. Small-scale generation can go directly into the grid and will support projects up to 25 megawatts. The Municipal Climate Change Action Center has been supporting municipalities with micro-generation and small-scale generation solutions. So let's start with micro-generation then. In 2016, we launched the Alberta Municipal Solar Program. This was an incentive program available to Alberta municipalities who installed new grid-connected micro-generation solar PV on their facilities or their land. We provided a rebate per watt, covering up to 30% of the capital cost of an installation. And anyone who was first to market with one of these programs was also eligible for an applicant bonus of 25 cents a watt. We've run 2 rounds of this program, one from 2016 to 2019, and another from about 2018 to 2021. We've had over 120 projects completed around the province, generating 24 megawatts in capacity. Communities of all sizes have participated in this program, hiring trades involved in electricity, construction, and more. 10 municipalities have become electrically net zero in their operations. So as an example, the town of Raymond had its eye on sustainability, and they saw limited opportunities to bring revenue into their community, and they had a lot of uncertainty with fluctuating energy prices. And so to address this, they installed 9 solar arrays that are expected to generate over 1,300 megawatt hours of renewable energy each year. This offsets 100% of the town's operational electrical needs and saves about 700 tons of CO2 per year. What's really exciting is the town is anticipating an annual savings of $130,000 per year, funding that can be put into other priorities and other needs. And the success of the town of Raymond attracted other municipalities. So they became really interested as well. Town of Raymond offers tours and provides peer advice and support to other communities that are interested in similar projects. And I share this story about them because they earned a National Clean 50 Award for this work and recognition from the Canadian Federation of Canadian Municipalities as well. Another program I'd like to share, or a project, is with the city of Airdrie. So when the city started to implement their sustainability plan, Airdrie 1 sustainability plan, they looked at Genesis Place, a very large recreational facility. And they saw lots of opportunities to help advance their plan by applying for multiple funding streams through the Municipal Climate Change Action Centre. So they applied to the Alberta Municipal Solar Program, the Recreation Energy Conservation Program, and Electric Vehicles for Municipalities Program. They replaced almost 500 lighting fixtures with LED lamps. They purchased an electric ice resurfacer, and some of the electricity used to charge this ice resurfacer is produced by the facility's solar PV array. So you can see the solar PV on their roof there. They also installed a roof-mounted bifacial ground mount array as a shade and weather protection structure in their parking lot. 36% of this facility's annual electrical use is offset by solar. And they, across all of these projects, are estimated to save about $160,000 a year, which could be translated into reduced fees or improved amenities for Airdrie residents in the future. So this program, the Alberta Municipal Solar Program, is powering community leagues, recreation centers, sewage lift stations, and even local attractions. So I would encourage you to look at our project showcase on the MCCAC website to learn about these and many, many more projects that we've helped facilitate over the years. The next program is a Solar for Schools program. It's operated similarly to the AMSP program, but focused on public school authorities who installed grid-connected microgeneration systems. We provided rebates that covered up to 50% of the capital costs in these programs. About 50 projects have been implemented in 12 school authorities around the province, and yes, saving upwards of $900,000 a year in annual energy savings. One unique aspect of this program is that the participating schools would create a student education component that helped students understand the value of solar, how it was helping their school, really improve the education and awareness regarding solar overall. Alberta communities can also implement small-scale renewable energy projects. And these small facilities sell electricity into the grid and produce income. And a subset of the small-scale renewable category are community generation initiatives. And these allow organizations like municipalities, nonprofits, universities, Indigenous communities, and others to partner with private developers on projects. What's unique about these is that they require a community benefits agreement, which is a legally binding agreement, or a community benefits statement. And these outline the social, environmental, or economic benefits that will be received by a community that is implementing these projects. So we work with Alberta Innovates to run the Municipal Community Generation Challenge in 2020. About 40 municipalities expressed an interest in putting community generation project into their community. And we selected 2 projects to fund. And these project costs covered all the activities up to and including installation. One of these projects, if you've attended the solar series in the past, you may have already heard about. It's the Métis Crossing Solar Project. We provided almost $4 million to put this project in place. And it was a partnership with the MD of Smoky Lake, the town of Smoky Lake, and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Well, here's an overview picture of this site under construction. And I had the opportunity to join the Métis Nation of Alberta Assembly, annual assembly, where they named this project. So this is Michif for a gift from the sun. So it's called Salé Présent. The next project I'd like to share is one that turns liabilities into assets. So this is the Renew Well project. This project takes abandoned oil and gas well sites and turns them into solar generation sites. This project was really exciting because not only does it repurpose land and infrastructure, we had training of oil and gas workers and a very detailed knowledge transfer plan. There's lots of opportunities to scale this initiative in Alberta. So I have a very short video to share on this project, and I'm just going to make sure the sound is sharing, and we'll give this a whirl.
Oil and gas wells are everywhere in Alberta, and a lot of those wells have reached the end of life. They're not producing energy, and they can't be used for anything until the land is reclaimed. Alberta has a lot of sunshine too. We're talking 300 plus days a year. So, what if we could speed up the reclamation of abandoned wells by building solar power? That's the opportunity seized by Renewell Energy Solutions. Turning abandoned wells into solar farms cuts remediation costs by more than 50%. Reusing infrastructure and roads shaves a quarter off the cost of the solar farm too. And it allows Alberta to add solar capacity without sacrificing valuable farmland. In 2020, Renewell received funding to start on 2 pilot projects in the Municipal District of Taber. 2 years later, Iron and Earth and Medicine Hat College used the sites for a groundbreaking renewable energy training program. Indigenous and oil and gas workers were trained to install solar panels. Skyfire Energy's experts led the hands-on fieldwork, and then Skyfire followed through to complete the full installation. This is the Fincastle site, where 0.5 megawatt of solar power was installed in late 2022. And in March 2023, on the first day of spring, power switched on for the first time. Across both pilot sites, Renewell has saved 8 acres of farmland and added 1.5 megawatts of solar power to Alberta. That's enough for 90 quarter-section pivot irrigation systems to irrigate more than 12,000 acres, just using sunshine. Renewell, not just a proof of concept, a better way forward for oil and gas reclamation and for solar power development.
So an incredible project with tons of scaling potential in the province. There we go. So in closing, if you're really interested in solar, I hope it inspires you to embrace solar in your work or home. We have 3 tools that are available to you. The Solar Friendly Municipalities Toolkit, which gives tips to municipalities on how to go about implementing these solutions. an Alberta solar calculator, which is great for facilities, homes, and others to help calculate the savings that you might realize by implementing a system in your property. And finally, the Clean Energy Improvement Program. If you find the upfront costs of installing solar daunting, there are communities in Alberta that can help you finance these solutions, and you can pay that payment back over time. So thank you very much for today.
Great. Thanks, Trina. Now we'll just bring Megan's presentation up here. And Megan, please join us on screen now.
Okay, great.
Okay, Trina, you and I will disappear and we'll come back for the Q&A after.
Perfect.
Okay. Starting. Thank you, Trina and Heather. And thank you everyone for joining us. I join you here today from Treaty 7 territory. So Innisfail is a community of about 8,000 people situated along the QE2 corridor between Calgary and Edmonton, about 20 minutes south of Red Deer. And our solar journey started in late 2017 when we were approached by a local business owner looking to develop a solar generation facility on some town-owned industrial land adjacent to his operation, which was currently in the process of being reclaimed from wastewater lagoon operations. And this was really the start for town administration and council working to educate and understand the electricity system in Alberta and what role renewables could play for us as a community. So in the end, the original lands that had been identified by this individual were deemed by the town to not be the best location for a solar facility, being that they could be more easily developed as traditional industrial land. However, the town did have a large parcel of land near its boundary, and although it is identified for long-term future residential development, even our most aggressive development projections put that land well beyond our 50-year growth horizon. So council did display a level of commitment to understand both the process for the development of a solar facility as well as the long-term benefits. And ultimately a deal was reached for this project. So the lands were subsequently leased to a solar developer for a 35-year term for the development of a 22 megawatt facility on approximately 100 acres. The agreement provides a per acre annual lease rate to the town, which increases over the course of the agreement. So the project was constructed and came online in mid-2020. And with the addition, and in addition to the lease revenue of approximately $12,000 a year to the town, in 2023, provided $235,000 in property taxes to the community, which is quite substantial for a community our size, with an overall property tax revenue of about $8 million. So this project's currently owned and operated by Elemental Energy, which are based in BC and operate numerous solar, wind, and hydro projects across the country and across North America. One of the big components of our lease agreement that has had a big impact in the community is the creation of a community benefit contribution. So each year, Elemental provides $20,000 to the town, which is then distributed with three main focused objectives. The first being environmental education. So funds are provided to programs and projects to support opportunities for energy and environmental learning in the community. To date, we've offered programs through our local schools as well as through the library, particularly during COVID, through an organization called Relay Education. So they offer a variety of program options where youth and young adults receive hands-on learning related to renewable energy generation, electricity, and green careers. The second component of the Community Benefit Fund is a fee assistance program. So the funds provide funding up to $200 annually to low-income individuals looking to access art, culture, recreation, leisure, or transportation services. They can access programming within the community, or if it's something that's not available here in the community, they can apply that outside the community as well. The third component of the Community Benefit Fund is support for community organizations through an annual grant process. So the funds provide support to projects, events, or initiatives related to either environmental awareness and enhancement, social and community wellness, arts and culture, education and science, or emergency relief. So to date, $25,000 have been distributed to support various projects, including enhancements to our community garden with a 3-season greenhouse, the construction of a new chalet at our local ski hill, and new entry gates on the local museum, as well as the purchase of 3D printer and other technology at the library, new school band uniforms, and the installation of dispensers for free feminine hygiene products at town facilities. So this pool of funds has been a great resource for the town to support various organizations and events. The applications for this are taken in January each year. They're reviewed by a committee of citizens as well as a representative from Elemental Energy. So the next sort of major solar project the town focused on. So in 2023, we completed the installation of rooftop solar on 3 facilities, our fire hall, curling rink, and town office. So over 220 kilowatts was installed and came online midsummer this year. Production since connection sort of to the end of September, we estimate between $5,000 and $6,000 of savings based on our average cost of electricity. And we're looking forward to continuing to monitor this data as we move forward in the coming months for the impact of that project. And next on our horizon is the construction of a new ground mount solar generation project. So after the town was connected to the South Red Deer Regional Wastewater system, the town's wastewater lagoons were no longer required. So the town was able, with support from the provincial government, to reclaim the lagoon site for industrial development. However, a portion of that 70-acre parcel was not able to be reclaimed, and as such, it was deemed to be most suitable to be used as a generation facility. So the 6.5-acre site is planned to generate between 1.5 and 2 megawatts, and we're looking to construct and connect in 2024. The town's currently completing detailed level studies for Fortis and Altalink, and hope to receive capital approval through town council this fall in order to file an AUC application in early 2024. The revenue generated from this project is estimated to sort of cover our initial investment in that 8 to 10 year time horizon. As part of our development of the industrial site, we have been able to collaborate closely with Fortis to ensure that the industrial park is serviced such that high load users are able to be accommodated within the industrial park, as well as help with the required upgrades for the installation of the solar facility. So the town is also working on the construction of a new aquatic center to replace an aging facility. So the new facility is intended to be combined with our existing twin arena, and the current design includes 115 kilowatts of solar generation. In addition, we're pursuing funding for a feasibility study through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to explore potential pathways to achieve a net zero facility for the aquatic center. This will include examination of industrial waste heat from the arena, the proposed waste to energy facility that we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, geo exchange, and expanded solar generation. So all of these projects and opportunities have allowed the town to take advantage of many different programs and expand our knowledge around renewables and energy transition. One of the most notable projects has been working with the Energy Futures Lab. So the Energy Futures Lab is an Alberta coalition of innovators and organizations working to accelerate energy transition in Alberta. Innisfail was chosen in 2021-2022 to participate in a process to work with EFL and explore ideas and opportunities for the community. So EFL worked with a group of staff, council, citizens, and industry partners to participate in a series of workshops that educate and explore opportunities for the community as we work through the energy transition. This was another great learning opportunity, and we had representatives from Fortis, ATCO, Alberta Innovates, Red Deer Polytechnic, the Alberta government, as well as Equus, that allowed us to network and build connections that have supported the town moving forward in numerous projects. This process with the EFL has spawned what we have termed the Innisfail Energy Hub, which has evolved into a component of our economic development strategy and is a collection of ongoing activities to keep the energy conversation going in the community and continue to expand our knowledge. So we continue to host community engagement events. Earlier this spring, as part of our community trade show that's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, we had an entire sort of energy section to the trade show that featured speakers and organizations, including Fortis, Equus. We had speakers from Red Deer Polytechnic review their campus sustainability plans. We had a speaker, Bob Bilton, who's a local manufacturer who has been working on the conversion of hydrogen or of diesel locomotives to hydrogen power, as well as Sean Collins and Rory Wheat from Varma Energy. We actually have a session this evening that we'll be hosting to help folks have a better understanding of their utility bills. We will have reps from Fortis, ATCO, and the Alberta Utilities Consumer Advocate, as well as individuals from the town's utility company or utility team on hand to review their utility bills with them and to understand where the charges come from and how they may be able to make changes to save money. We've all heard figures about how many folks are still on the regulated rate option and wanting to, again, provide opportunities to our citizens to have a better understanding of their utility costs. Our next session in November will be focused on energy upgrades for homeowners, with everything from simple upgrades and practices to things like installing solar PV in your home, how to navigate those processes, how to look for installers, and how to determine what the most impactful changes would be for you in your home. I've mentioned Varma Energy. So Varma is a company based in Norway that is looking to develop net zero waste to energy facilities, both in the industrial heartland area outside of Edmonton, as well as in Innisfail. Connections that were made through our mayor, Jean Barclay, has led to this opportunity, and the facility is proposed to process municipal waste into processed steam that will either be used by adjacent industrial processes or be converted to electricity. The facility is intended to achieve net zero operations through integral carbon capture technology. So the FCM feasibility project I mentioned earlier will evaluate the waste heat generation from this facility and how that can potentially augment our future aquatic center's energy demands. The town has also participated in a program called the Partners in Climate Protection Program, which is a collection of municipalities and resources available for communities to evaluate their greenhouse gas impacts and commits the members to moving through a 5-milestone process. The first milestone being to inventory the greenhouse gas emissions produced both by a municipality as a corporation, as well as the community as a whole. So in 2023, we completed milestone 1. We'll be moving into the next milestones where the community will be setting targets and determining how we can work towards reducing our our greenhouse gas emissions. The town has also purchased an electric ice resurfacer. That was a project that was supported by MCCAC. As well, just in the last few weeks, purchased a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle for the town fleet, which is also receiving funding through the MCCAC programs that Trina was discussing earlier. In 2024, we will be looking to explore a clean energy improvement program, which allows the municipality to help homeowners install solar on their homes or other energy improvements to reduce their energy demands, and providing sort of funding support in the terms of loans that are paid off through their property taxes. So certainly a lot of projects that we've been able to undertake, and a lot of that stemmed from our understanding that was gained through the early solar farm project, understanding the electricity system and really understanding how the energy transition is going to impact municipalities as we move forward. I'll pass it back over to Heather and welcome the questions from the group.
Thanks, Megan. Trina, if you could join us as well now. And if you want to take down your screen share, Megan, we can just have the three of us up here.
Okay.
And just a reminder to everybody to please enter your questions in the Zoom Q&A, not the chat. I'm just going to be monitoring the Zoom Q&A as it's too difficult to monitor two boxes at a time. Well, that was really inspirational. Holy smokes. I think we heard from your mayor 3 years ago on this same program, if you want to call it a program. And she was just telling us about the very first project that you folks undertook, the lease agreement. But now to hear about all these additional steps that have been taken since, wonderful. And to know that you've been walking with them through that journey, Trina, that's pretty exciting too. So I see some questions coming into the chat here. Sorry, the Q&A. Trina, there's a question for you. A question from Patrick around the funding that you were mentioning in your presentation. Which of those are available currently and which are not? I think you touched on this briefly, but if you could just elaborate on what's currently available, that'd be great.
So currently we don't have any programs where we're accepting applications, but we do have programs under development. We anticipate opening programs in the new year. One of them will be focused on community energy conservation, which is basically taking the recreation energy conservation program and expanding it up to any community building. So that is our plan in the new year. We do have a number of capacity building initiatives, however, that are running and that are open for people to get involved in. We have a Municipal Climate Leadership Council. We have a program associated with climate adaptation that you can get involved in for capacity building. And we're looking for 2 more communities to participate with us in the Net Zero Community Accelerator Initiative. We're collaborating with Quest and others on. So if your community would be interested in that, please pop me a note and we'll get you connected.
Okay, awesome. Super helpful. Yeah, I know we were sad to see a few of those programs go, but it's nice that they have been able to be sort of trendsetters in the province, and hopefully folks will continue to expand on community generation and other initiatives regardless. Mark is wondering for Megan, can you discuss some of the conversations that were had around revenue? It seems you agreed to a lease rate per acre with the understanding that the community benefit contribution would also be made. And I heard you mention tax revenue as well. But the question is, why not a higher lease rate? I know those are getting into contract negotiations there. You might not be able to completely answer, but maybe just touch on that if you could.
Yeah, without getting into too many of the details. Really, we were early on. This was one of the first larger scale solar projects in the province. We didn't have a lot of baseline to go from, and I think to help support that project and those upfront capital costs, realizing that the sort of long-term revenue that was going to come from taxes on the facility for us was beneficial, and we felt that that was a good return. And this project was one of the first, I believe, that didn't receive any external funding for the upfront capital cost, where some of the earliest solar farms, I believe, down by Brooks and Strathmore, they had significant investment in the form of grant dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was totaling up those numbers as you went through them, and I think you said it was about 230 something in tax revenue per year, plus the 20 for the community benefit grant, plus the 12 for the lease agreement. Did I hear those numbers correct? So it's a pretty big chunk of change when you add all that up, hey?
It is, especially for a community our size. And that lease agreement will elevate throughout the term of the agreement.
Okay, and Trina, do you know any other municipalities that have taken the plunge and leased land to solar farm developers to date? Just to put you fully on the spot there. I know Innisfail is way ahead on that, but I was curious if there was anyone else that comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure about from a community generation perspective, how many there are in market at all. Megan, do you know?
I don't know. I know there are some municipalities involved in projects, but I don't know the ownership structure necessarily.
Yeah, it seems I recall thinking it's a really good idea. The lease agreement is a really good idea for councils that might be more conservative and a little bit nervous about taking on risk themselves, like financial risk. I don't see solar as a risky investment, but if someone is nervous, then the lease agreement doesn't really entail any risk for the municipality. It's kind of all the positives without any of the the worry about return on investment and whatnot. So so that's great to hear. Another question I had for you both. I've seen that you're moving on the solar farm there, the 2 megawatt one, and I know that it is probably coming through with a small scale generation regulation, I'm assuming, because it's under 5 megawatts. Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay, and I've heard that it's very challenging to navigate that regulation and that very few people have. I think the Métis Nation didn't successfully navigate that regulation, the project you were just mentioning earlier, Trina, but I'm curious how that's going and how you're finding that regulation. And I think we're hoping to have a presentation from the government of Alberta at our solar show about that regulation and trying to encourage more people to use it. So I would love to just hear a little bit about that and how that's going for you folks.
I'll jump in and share that one of the reasons why we ran the Municipal Community Generation Challenge was to pave the way and get some projects started under that regulation. And the projects, they're just energizing now. And part of their closeout activities is to produce a learning report and actually to speak to the process. So I would stay tuned for those. They will be coming out sometime either late this year or into the middle of next year. But yeah, there were some learnings, and I think the approval folks actually liked the opportunity to learn their way forward with people who were piloting projects. Hopefully, Megan, it was an easier journey for your crew.
Well, and we aren't done yet, I guess. You know, we're still in the process of putting together our application that'll be submitted to the AUC, and we have been working with a consultant in the preparation of a lot of those more technical studies. But I guess we will let you know when
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Please keep us in the loop, because you know we're really happy to be in conversation about how we can improve on these regulations. And I recall there were some motions that went forward at the Rural Municipalities Association around, can we tweak the small scale generation regulation to make it a little bit more similar to the micro generation regulation in terms of the ease with which folks can apply. So definitely interested to hear if you have similar feedback that was coming through there when all is said and done. I know that's kind of nerdy regulation talk, but I don't mind talking regs with you too, because I feel like you're probably embroiled in that a lot. So we don't have too many other questions here in the Q&A. So I'm just going to probably ask one more question. myself, and then we'll wrap things up a little early and give everyone a little bit of extra time for their lunch today. I guess my question was around the north-south dynamic. Innisfail is obviously very well located when it comes to solar access and generating potential. And of course, in southern Alberta, even further south than Innisfail, we see a lot more brownfield or land that's not really great for crops and whatnot. So it's a little bit more of a logical decision for a municipality to go all the way and invest in a solar farm in the south. We saw Fort Chipewyan did their own solar farm, but then they realized that if they invested in a solar farm in the south, it would generate actually more revenue. And so they're looking at southern Alberta now for investment opportunities. I'm wondering if you folks have some comments on this. Both northern municipalities that might be looking to invest in the south and whether that's a good option for them, and even partnering of municipalities whereby, you know, southern municipalities that maybe have some excellent brownfield that has good solar potential like Innisfail, you know, partners with a northern municipality and does a revenue share or cost share agreement or cost and revenue share agreement. Has anything like that started to transpire in the province? Not to diminish the solar potential of northern Alberta, it's still great. Obviously, solar PV loves the cold. But just when you're thinking about those solar farms and when you're making a big investment, you obviously want the biggest bang for your buck. So have you heard of anything like that where folks are coming together, maybe sister projects?
Like municipalities do come together in regional collaborations. So we have projects doing climate risk assessments on a regional basis. Some of the community generation projects, well, both of them actually came in as collaborations, but they were very much neighboring towns versus a north-south matching. But I don't think there's anything that would prevent that from happening.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was thinking about it too, as some cities like Edmonton and others are looking at, you know, power purchase agreements and essentially going green by buying green energy elsewhere. It occurred to me that, you know, we might see more and more of those types of partnerships developing and folks looking to Innisfail and others for their experience and then kind of piggybacking on that with the purchase agreements or project agreements. Anything to add on that, Megan?
No, I guess, yeah, I haven't necessarily heard of any sort of remotely located municipalities working together on that front. But certainly many municipalities do end up with these sort of surplus pieces of, you know, not necessarily the most usable property. With our lagoon reclamation project and this sort of 6.5 acre site that we essentially can't do a whole lot else with. It's not very accessible even to make into something like a dog park or anything like that. But it certainly spurred us to look at some of our other sort of smaller remnant types of properties, you know, around water reservoirs and lift stations and things like that, and ways that we can potentially piece together even more generation.
Interesting. Yeah, I know when I first spoke with Innisfail, I guess it was about a year ago, about this solar farm idea. One of the frustrations was that the brownfield was not necessarily adjacent to municipal buildings, and so you couldn't use the microgeneration regulation. And I thought, oh, that's too bad. And maybe there's some work we can do on the microgeneration regulation as well to remove that requirement for adjacency. I think that certainly would have helped other municipalities as well to contemplate using the brownfield and other things that you folks are taking advantage of rather than using prime farmland or pristine areas for development. So great to see that you're trying the small scale approach. I'm glad that didn't stall you. We do have a question from Lisa here. And so I don't want to end. I was planning to end, but then I thought, oh, Lisa popped in a question, and it's a good one. It's around battery storage. So one of the reasons given for the pause on renewables is the concern for grid stability. In countries like Greece, they have recently started to require that 1 kilowatt hour of battery storage be required for every new kilowatt of solar PV installed. So battery and solar combined in terms of requirements. If that were to happen in Alberta, how much do you think it would impact community solar PV projects? So have you thought about adding battery storage to your new build, and is it cost prohibitive, or do you think that would tank your project? And Trina, broadly speaking, maybe you can comment on that as well.
Sure. I guess at this point, yes, likely cost prohibitive. We have had extensive discussions with Fortis around sort of the overall industrial park development that we're working on, of which the solar facility is part of, and looking at potential opportunities. At this point, the battery storage just didn't make sense, and we don't know enough about the load profiles of some of the occupants that we're hoping to have in the industrial park to really make the case for battery storage within the park. But we have had conversations sort of around demand management and how we can work with Fortis to alleviate some of the costs that get passed on to the consumer as a result of sort of peak load operations. But at this point, yeah, the batteries are just too expensive. I believe Fortis has a couple of pilot projects where they've installed them with some facilities. I think their operations center south of Calgary has a battery.
Yeah, it seems like it's becoming commonplace for very large farms. You know, I noticed that in the connection queue in Alberta, I think 30% of the solar farms in the queue are going in with battery storage, but I strongly suspect those are the larger ones where, you know, much bigger than 2 megawatts probably. So maybe it's just a bit of a different picture when you're down around the 2 megawatt mark. Hopefully those costs continue to come down and we see the same learning curve with the batteries as we've seen with solar. That's always the dream, that they'll keep coming down. Trina, anything to add on the storage front?
Yeah, on our end, we're generally implementing measures that are desired by the funders. So we move that through. So I think if battery storage were something that participants wanted, perhaps advocating through to the funders that be an eligible expense in their funding programs.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I know we always talk about the triple threat here at Solar Alberta. There's the solar and the wind and the storage, and when you combine them all, we get some great grid reliability. So hopefully we can start seeing that in the programs that are supporting these expansions as well. So thanks for that. One last question. I keep saying one last question. Patrick's just wondering where folks can submit proposals for the 2 communities that you're looking for the net zero program, Trina. Is that through the Alberta Municipalities website, or is that through MCCAC?
It is through MCCAC. So send an inquiry email to contact@mccac.ca, and I'll make sure you're connected to the program manager that's leading that file.
Sounds great. Super exciting to hear about net zero communities in Alberta. Megan, I guess as a closing, do you think Innisfail is going to hit net zero in the near future, or is that on your radar yet?
I don't think we're quite to the point of net zero, but certainly seeing solar and renewables and the opportunities there expanding all the time for us.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like it will be that far off for you. At the rate you folks are going, I feel like it's fast and furious there. Every year there's something new. So thank you both for your excellent presentations. Really appreciate it. Thanks to the audience for joining us today, Lakeland College as well, and EPCOR for supporting the whole series this year.